What's going on, guys? So we have an elaborate setup as we see. We have flowers, two drones, Autel, DJI, and a cat puppet. What more do we need to talk about? So this video essentially is going to be on Autel and why I'm choosing to fly DJI drones primarily now and not Autel. And that was kind of the opposite at one point. Let me kind of talk about my history with Autel, which isn't huge. This is just my personal experience, and I figured I'd share because a lot of people are having a lot of issues with Autel customer support and their drones and stuff falling out of the sky. I've had a lot of kind of negative stuff that I've been hearing, at least with these consumer type drones like the Nanos and the Nano Pluses and the Light Pluses and even the Evo 2 Pro 6Ks, the version 2s, version 3s. My only Evo 2 Pro 6K version 1 was my rock solid drone. So that was my first Autel drone that I purchased, was an Evo 2 Pro 6K standard with the standard remote before the smart controllers were even released, and that was that. I had no idea other than DJI drones, and that was my primary reason to get an Autel, simply to try it out and have another experience to compare to DJI. At the time, DJI's customer support was actually pretty crappy. This was probably 5 years ago. And I just was having really not so great luck with their customer support when I needed to use them, and just was kind of over the frustration that I always had when I was dealing with DJI support. And I figured, why not try another company? And I kind of looked into it a little bit, didn't really know a ton about Autel. I heard they were no geofencing. I heard they were an American drone company, which they're really not. They're out of Japan. Out of China, I'm sorry. And didn't know a ton about them, but I figured I looked into it enough. I saw the Evo 2 Pro 6K was a pretty popular type drone model for them, moderately priced. I think it was around $1,500 or something at the time for the on-the-go bundle. It kind of fluctuated with their pricing, which is another thing that is really annoying with Autel, as we will get into it. They really fluctuate their pricing, and it's all over the place. They drop their price from $1,800 to $900, and it just really kind of gets you screwed if you're one of those people who paid the regular retail full price when you thought that was the price. And then they go ahead and have these crazy sales and throw in Autel cares and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, I digress. So the first drone I got, this is not an Evo 2 Pro 6K, this is a Light Plus, but that was the drone, the Evo 2 Pro 6K version 1, and that was that. I had no reason to love one or the other. I just wanted to try it out. It's kind of like me being an Apple guy. At one point, I wanted to get a PC to try gaming and stuff, and I got into PCs a little bit. I'm back with Apple, but no reason. I don't love PC, Apple. I'm an Apple guy per se, but I love computers, and that's kind of how I am with drones. I prefer one or the other, maybe at times, but at the same time, I appreciate all drones. So it's kind of like me as a photographer, a 25-year professional photographer. I started out with, film cameras and that kind of thing, growing up from disc film cameras to all kinds of everything, film-wise. And then when I got into the digital realm and digital kind of came about, I think I got a Canon 20D at the time. I had a Coolpix 5700 at the time. I had all these like beginner, digital cameras. But eventually when I really started shooting seriously, I think I ended up having Canon primarily. So I had a Mark II 1DS, I had a Mark IIN, I had the top of the line Canon professional bodies at the time. And the D3 came out for Nikon, and I rented it for a weekend, and I immediately fell in love with it. Like, wow, this is exactly what I wanted out of a camera system. Nikon felt better to me. So that was that with the D3, and I sold all my Canon gear, or maybe I kept it for a little bit because I had a lot invested, and I eventually sold off my Canon gear, transferred to Nikon, and Nikon served me because it felt better, and I just really kind of gravitated to it. And sometimes it's nice just to have different camera systems because it kind of adds a freshness to your entire routine, right? So sometimes it's fun to fly a DJI drone, sometimes it's fun to fly an Autel, maybe it's fun to fly some other drone, I don't know, like a Skydio, I don't know what it may be. But having different stuff and learning different systems, if you're technical and kind of geeky like I like to be, it's fun. So yeah, that's part of it. But basically all I'm saying is I had, as a professional photographer, I shot Canon, I shot Nikon, I shot Sony, went back to Nikon, blah, blah, blah. So I started out with DJI, I had a Phantom 4, Phantom 4 Pro, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, eventually got the Evo 2 Pro 6K, I think roughly 2-3 years ago, the version 1, and it was great. I had a really good experience. I felt like it was a really capable drone and very similar to the flight experience of, say, a Mavic 2 Pro or something. Maybe it didn't fly as well, but I didn't feel like the Autel drones were that scary different from a DJI experience. Sure, there's some differences, pros and cons, but for the most part, it was a really solid drone and it felt pretty darn comparable, and it wasn't something that was super scary and different. There was no geofencing, which was a huge win. And it seemed like the customer support was really pretty solid back then. So that was roughly 3 years ago. And now we're in 2023. Basically, when I had the Evo 2 Pro 6K version 1 chipset, they came out with a smart controller. I bought the smart controller, which was a version 1 smart controller. I didn't even know any of this at the time, but they eventually released the version 2 Evo 2 Pro 6Ks in drones. And then they released the version 2 smart controller. And then we all realized that these new chipsets don't work and aren't backward compatible. So you can't use the version 1 Evo 2 Pro 6K with the version 2 smart controller. You have to buy another version 2 smart controller. So it just became kind of confusing and really sloppy, in my opinion, at that point. So after the version 2 stuff was released, it just seemed like it all kind of went to crap in a way for the consumer side of things. The customer support seemed to kind of slowly diminish and things were changing. And I know customer support was always an issue with all of these companies, but at the same time, they felt pretty good at one point. And then I know they had change in the management and corporate, blah, blah, blah. I don't know the whole thing with that, but I just know that things were shifting, things weren't going as well, and basically they became almost non-existent. You could barely get in touch with customer support. People didn't know how to, contact them, whether you do it from email. They weren't answering their phones for weeks on end at times, which was really kind of unnerving. And they kept on going through customer service shifts with management and customer service managers, and there was only like 2-3 people at the time when they were changing out people. So there's always been a big turnaround, it seems, at Autel, which is not a good sign for any company, but that was the case. Basically, that's how it is now too. So they had a customer service guy, Tom, who was there, who was pretty darn good in my opinion. Built a little relationship with him, talked with them pretty regularly, had no issues, tried to help other people out when they had drone issues, sent them his info, and I think he was able to take care of them. Anyway, this is my personal little thing. I had some communications with them because I had some issues with my drones. They was going to give me a good deal on a newer model, like a new Light Plus or Nano or whatever I wanted to buy. And then I call him up to try to contact him about it. And guess what? He's gone. So that's how it kind of always is with some of these kind of situations, especially with them, that they're changing over so quickly. And now all the communication I had with Tom is out the door, and the new guy basically didn't do anything to honor what he said and left high and dry once again. And just kind of over all of that, the new manager essentially told me that the Light Pluses are falling out of the sky, not to buy one, not to buy a Nano Plus or the Nano series. They're kind of all not great drones. Buy the new Max or something like that, which is obviously a complete different realm. It's like $8,000. So that made no sense to me. But just kind of weird hearing Autel's service manager tell me not to buy a Nano or a Light series drone because they're not good drones. So that was not really what you want to hear as someone who's had bought both of them. So I had a Nano Plus. It wasn't a bad drone, but hardly a good drone either. They shouldn't have come out with so many models, but I talked about that. They should have only come out with the Nano Plus and the Light Plus. But now it seems like they're not even going to approach the consumer drones at all. Like they made a mistake. They're admitting to it essentially and just moving on and getting out of that whole realm and going towards the professional commercial side of the drone world, which is fine. You can do that, they can do that, but guess what? All the people who have these drones, what's going to happen? We're shit out of luck because now we have these models that are falling out of the sky or not supported or not going to be updated as regularly because they don't really care about them. Let's be pretty frank. So yeah, it's kind of frustrating, and I've had enough of that because I just don't have it in me to have that kind of wishy-washy all over the place, not knowing what's going on with customer support and if I'm going to have anyone that I actually know anymore when I call into them. And for me, I don't need that in my drone life. This is meant to be relaxing in a way, even though it's a profession. I have fun and I want to enjoy my drone experience. And recently I had a couple Mini 3 Pros, for example, that one was defective from Adorama. The other one had like some kind of manufacturing defect. Adorama gave me $50 off, which is whatever. Good that they actually did a little something. DJI actually sent me a free Mini 3 Pro battery, the plus one, whatever, the little nicer one. So that was nice of DJI. And don't get me wrong, Autel, the previous service manager, helped me out with some batteries and did some stuff too. So kind of equal, no, better or worse. But at the same time, with all this change with Autel's customer support and with the way that they're just not supporting these drones like these, and I had a friend of mine who I just got hired for a job, as I think I mentioned in another video. He had his Light Plus fall out of the sky for no apparent reason. It just seems like it's not really worth the energy anymore. My last Evo 2 Pro 6Ks, one was an Enterprise, the other one was an Evo 2 Pro 6K Standard. Both had connectivity issues, wasn't staying connected to my remote for whatever it was worth, tried every single thing, still would not maintain a connection, different cables, different everything. I mean, it just was not a good experience. So basically, I'm gonna own one Autel, probably a Light Plus, maybe a Nano Plus, just to have in case I do have a situation where I really need the no geofencing to come into place as a job, and that's it. I'm not gonna be invested into these guys any longer. Doesn't mean I don't dig Autel for certain things, but they really need to get their crap together, and that's the reality of it. And I think a lot of people have shared their frustrations with their customer support and the lack of customer service with Autel, and I think it's pretty much a given at this point. You can let me know what your experience is. Don't get me wrong, I've had some positive experiences with Autel and with their customer support, just not so much recently. And the last thing with them not kind of honoring their word with when the last service manager was there telling me he was going to help me out with something, just don't appreciate that. It's just kind of like a disrespect, and it doesn't mean they owe me anything. They don't. I don't care. I'll fly my DJI drones and I'll fly a Light Plus or whatever. I don't need any special treatment. But at the same time, I'm excited that I got my Mavic 3 Pro coming in on Wednesday. I have my Mini 3 Pro coming back. I'm going to definitely be more of a DJI guy from this point on. It doesn't mean I don't appreciate Autel. As I said, I like Apple, I like PC, I like Canon cameras, Nikon, Sony. I appreciate them all because that's the kind of guy I am. I don't think we need to necessarily choose one over the other, but just based on my overall experiences, 2023 Mother's Day, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, but I'm going to be more invested in DJI than I am Autel. I will have one, and I said to a lot of people, you should have one Autel in your camera bag, in your drone gear bag, if you really are serious, because there are times where you just really want to get up in the air and you may not be able to because you haven't been able to go and get the geofencing unlocked at Drone Zone on the FAA website or whatever it may be. And it may just be a simple flight where you just need to go 50 feet up and get a quick little something. These Autels will really work well for that. And I really am kind of sad that these guys aren't getting love because they are a cool little drone. I really do think the image quality out of the Autels is almost in a way better than DJI. And I know some people will argue with that. Don't get me wrong, I love the Mavic 3 drone. I think this is hands down the drone of the year, minus the Mavic 3 Pro, which is just being released. So I'm sure that's gonna probably take the cake. I can't wait to test it and put it through its paces. And I should be able to do that this week. But just my experience with Autel, and as I said, I was not an Autel guy. People kind of said that I was at a certain point, like I was not a DJI fan anymore. I just appreciate drones. So again, good drone vibes. I had a Phantom 4 Pro. That was my first, or my Phantom 4 was my first DJI and my first drone I ever flew. So of course I'm going to have love for this company. And when I tried Autel, I had really no idea. No, people were saying I shouldn't even buy an Autel or shouldn't even bother. And I did just because I wanted to, and I wanted to have that experience of flying another drone, using another app, seeing the whole entire experience from the Autel care to the DJI refresh, comparing the two, customer service. And customer service, I thought at one point was going to be more personal because it was kind of like in the States. And sometimes there's a disconnect when you have call centers and stuff in China and time zone differences, and you can't really communicate as well as when you can actually pick up the phone and get someone in your time zone or a time zone over in the States and dealing with Autel. But it wasn't really that case anyway, because a lot of times you couldn't even get them on the phone at all. So kind of long-winded, but essentially that's it. I'm going to stay clear from Autel because it doesn't seem like they're even offering a drone anymore that's kind of worth anything unless you're spending a bunch of money on the newer Maxes or whatever that 4T is, which is probably a killer drone, but I don't need it. I want more cinematic stuff. So these consumer drones seem like they're just going to sell out and just kind of get rid of them and get them out of their inventory and be done with it. So that's kind of unnerving in a way, in my opinion. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what your experiences have been with Autel, with DJI's service right now, with Autel's customer support right now. DJI is actually pretty impressive. They've done right by me many times. I had my Cine that flew away on me. They refunded my money. Little incidences like my Mini 3 Pro issues, at least they were nice enough to send me a battery plus for my Mini 3 Pro, which whatever, maybe $100 or whatever it may be. But normally DJI was not ever willing to do anything. So it's nice that they're kind of showing a little love. I appreciate that, DJI. Thank you. And I just wish, and Autel has shown love in the past too, but I think with just their turnover and their constant confusion with their customer support side, not getting that stuff sorted, there's no way that they can maintain that level of professionalism and stability and consistency because it's just, they're a mess. So that's how it feels, at least. So that's it. Short little video, late night, kind of spent at the end of the day. I hope everyone's doing well. It's kind of crazy out there. Also, a mental wellness check-in for anyone out there. Know that you're not alone. It's a stressful time. Maybe tune away from the phones and the connectivity and the social media crap, because I'll tell you what, I actually watched a documentary on Mr. Rogers tonight, not the one with Tom Hanks, but something else on Netflix. And just being a person who was raised with no cell phones and no social media and Mr. Rogers and really wholesome, decent kind of stuff, guess what? We had no mass shootings. We had none of this kind of chaotic crap that's going on right now. And I really do feel that people just are so tuned into all this crap that it really is kind of driving some people insane, that they're doing stuff that, you know, they shouldn't be doing, completely unhinged, and it's not good. We definitely need to send out some love to this world because there's stuff going on that is not cool. So tune out of that, send out some higher vibration stuff. I always kind of say I have some friends who always seem to tune into the news and all that negativity. And I heard someone say, why would you want to choose to tune into this lowest vibration stuff and the lowest vibration kind of anything that's happening on this planet by watching the news? It's like, I can't do it personally. I'll go insane. That's why the drones actually are very therapeutic to me. I've talked about that too before. So I want drone flying to be fun and to take me away from all of this crap. You can create, you can fly, you can concentrate, be mindful in the moment when you're flying, and that's it. So more drones, less social media, less mainstream media, and send out some good vibes to everyone out there who may be having a hard time, and know you're loved, and that's it. Bye, guys.